What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Airbnb ABCs. I am super happy to have you guys here today because I think that this is an important video to watch, because typically for me and a lot of other Airbnb creators out there and short-term rental creators, we're always talking about how much money you can make, how great this is, how much, fun this is at certain points of time. But for January to April of 2024, basically the first third of the year, what I'm going to call spring, we have had the worst year in the history of us doing this, going back to 2021. And I don't have my May numbers in yet because I typically do those at the beginning of the next month, so I'll have those numbers in June. But May is trending in the same direction and it is down. And so that's why I wanted you guys to see this, and I'm going to go over the numbers that we are getting and why I think this is happening, what you can do about it. And so for that reason, I ask you guys to hit the like button and subscribe down below if you're not subscribed yet, because I think that there's going to be a lot of value in this. For us, in our portfolio, we have 3 cabins, and all of them are down across the board in both gross and net profitability. And I don't want you guys to get hung up too much on the net profitability, because that is highly dependent on a ton of different factors. It could be if you have a mortgage on your property or not. If you were fortunate enough to buy one of these things for $125,000 in 2014 and now you don't have a mortgage, your net profit is going to be higher than the person that bought in 2021 for $500,000 and now it has a mortgage on that. It's also going to be variable based on things that are outside of your control, maybe maintenance things. If you had to shut down for a month and you also had to do a major renovation, not only is your net profit going, or your gross profit going to take a hit, but your net profit is going to as well. So I want you guys to keep that in mind. I'm going to give you guys the percentages of our gross numbers and then our actual profit for our net. So for our first cabin, we are down 43% year over year from 2023 to 2024. I honestly do not have a real great reason for why this is down, but I have some suspicions, and I think a lot of it had to do with our photographs for this property, because we just killed it in 2023 for the summer and fall months, even through the winter into our holiday season, and it was doing very well, and then things just basically fell apart in January through April. For the year, we are actually negative. We have not not netted a profit yet in 2024, and that's not great, but we have had some maintenance items, and that's taken up a lot of our money. Our second cabin is down 31.7%. This one it's just not as an attractive cabin as the other 2 that we have. It's not in the prime location, but it has always been a good performer. It's never been incredibly high. It's never been really low like this. Because it is on a very low mortgage, it's only like $2,400 a month, and we haven't really had any maintenance issues, knock on wood, for the year. We are still looking at about a $2,300 profit. So even with a 31.7% decrease in our top line, our bottom line is still looking good. Then our third cabin, which has always been our standout and pretty much rents no matter what, it is down 13% as well from 2023 for gross numbers, but has pumped out a little over $10,000 so far this year in net profit. So that thing is doing great. It also has a very low mortgage at $2,400 or $2,300 a month. And I didn't mention on our first cabin there, we have about a $3,600 a month mortgage. So by far our highest mortgage amount. And, that always is going to factor in with your total expenses and, how much you are able to actually take home from your gross revenue number. So the reason why all of this is happening is being, hotly debated among forums, among people on the internet, among, YouTube creators, because a lot of folks are seeing this across the board. People I've seen are saying that they're seeing anywhere between 10 to 25% across the board decreases from 2023 to 2024. And there's some standouts where folks are saying that they either didn't see a decrease, they're even up. Those are definitely less prominent than the people that are saying that they are down for the year. And so why is this happening? The vast majority of people out there are going to say that it is market saturation of rentals, or they can even say oversaturation, which really isn't even a word. And I'm going to say that that's maybe or maybe not. I do not have numbers to say that there are X amount of structures, previously and Y amount of structures currently. There are numbers out there that are showing that more are coming onto Airbnb and vrbo, or at least Airbnb when you look at AirDNA data. But what is not ever taken into account are cabins that were only listed with rental management companies and are now being listed on Airbnb, and folks that had only listed with Vrbo, as Vrbo is a much older platform. Airbnb has only been around since like 2008 or 9. Vrbo has been around since the 90s, and a lot of those were only listed on Vrbo, and now they are being listed on Airbnb as well, and it makes it easier for aggregate sites like AirDNA to account for that. But for me personally, unlike a lot of the out-of-state investors who have never been to the Smokies or maybe only went there once for their inspection for their cabin, and they're only looking at charts online, I frequently visit the area. As a matter of fact, I had just spent a week there on kind of a business/vacation trip where we did a lot of maintenance on that first cabin that needed some deck work. And then I did some other things to get in line with the new Smokies fire codes that are coming out. And if you guys want a video on that, I can make that if you guys are invested into the Smokies. But what I see a lot doesn't really jive with what people are saying on the internet.'re saying that there's all this construction and that there's so many more cabins than there were just a couple years ago. And my personal experience does not correlate with that. For one, what I've seen from construction down there is, other than these very large communities of very large cabins or hotels, construction moves at an absolute snail's pace. Individual cabins that were under construction when I first bought in July of 2021 are still under construction today. Now, that may be an outlier, but it is indicative of the construction process down there. The loss of rental cabins in 2016 was significant. We're talking, I think, like 2,500 or 3,000 cabins lost. In the neighborhood that I have one of my cabins, that standout cabin that's only down 13%, there are hundreds of burned out lots that have not been replaced. They haven't been rebuilt, and as far as I know, they haven't been rebuilt anywhere else. If you are in the Chalet Village area where there are still cabins going up all over the place from where they were burnt down, they're not being replaced to the level that they were before. And then also, any of the new construction that is going on as far as building in places where there weren't anything, I've noticed two things. They're either building gigantic cabins that are going to hold 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 bedrooms that are going to hold 20, 24 people, and they're not really competing with the 4-bedroom and less, because people that are renting a 4-bedroom and less cabin are not going to be renting a cabin with 10 bedrooms. And then other cabins that I've seen being built are just being built in terrible locations. I have driven through many roads that are in valleys that have no view at all and really kind of mixed in with other residential. And then they're just throwing 2 or 3 cabins up there. There's a few that are being built next to schools, next to like Dollar Generals, and in just areas that are not great to rent. And so I don't think that these places are going to rent terribly well versus a place that has a great view, that is in a great location, and is just a desirable place that people are going to want to vacation, versus just stuck in a hole somewhere next to a road, next to a shopping center, or next to a school. And so it's my opinion, and this is my opinion, why things are down across the board, is that people simply do not have the money that they had in 2021, 2022, really even back into the 2010s, to travel like they did today. Because if you look at what a trip to the Smokies actually ends up costing you, a lot of people think that it is a affordable vacation, and in some ways it is versus other locations. A trip to the Smokies is not cheap. And you're still going to spend $1,000 or more on your lodging. If you're coming there in the summertime, you're going to spend probably $2,000, maybe $3,000 for a nice 2, 3, or 4-bedroom cabin, maybe even more, depending on what kind of amenities it has. And then that just gets you your place to sleep. That doesn't count your travel costs. That doesn't count your entertainment costs, your food costs, all the other things that you want to do. You're going to be spending several $1,000s to go on a Smokies vacation. And what I know from, just my life and from the people that I associate with and things that I read on the internet and, just things that I can pick up with and just analyze myself, folks are getting crushed by the prices of things, by inflation, and then they're not being backed up by higher wages. In general, wages are still stagnant, even though they're going up a little bit faster than before, which they have to because inflation is going nuts. And I have this kind of unique perspective here where all of this stuff, my investment in these Airbnb properties, my investment in YouTube channels, my investments in stock market, I keep all that stuff separate. I don't typically spend that money except for maybe going on, a nice vacation or something. Otherwise, I am a about $100,000 W-2 earner, and so I can feel the pinch of inflation like your guests do, like the average person does that doesn't have all of these other forms of revenue. And so I can relate to how the average person is doing right now financially. And so what we've done is we have done two things to kind of prioritize or to prepare ourselves for these slow times and for times where travel is not, especially to the Smokies maybe, that high on people's priorities list. Either they're going other places or they simply don't have the money for it. One is that our properties have low mortgages. And so this makes us be able to reduce our rates really without any issue. And we can really start getting our rates down lower than what we'd like and still maintain profitability or at least break even. And this doesn't help you guys out there who are looking right now. But if you guys are the folks that purchased, a couple years ago or further back and your mortgages are under $3,000 or under $2,000, you can roll back your prices. I really wouldn't worry about if anyone else is saying, well, you got to hold strong for everyone else. I get it. It's a community type of thing. But at some point you have to, look after yourself. And if you can roll those prices back, stay in the game and, kind of punt for, better times ahead, that's what you got to do. But this is something to consider if you are buying right now. Make sure that your numbers are going to work in less than ideal conditions, less than top dollar bookings, less than, 80 to 90% occupancy. And if it's not working out for you right now, you're just going to have to wait, because there will come a time where either interest rates come down or prices are more reasonable. I don't think that one is ever going to happen. It really has never happened other than for short periods of time in history. But, as as the income does come up, and it will, prices will become more reasonable relative to the revenue that we're going to be able to get. But make sure that your places that you're looking at are going to work in less than ideal conditions. We have looked at several places. We have passed on several places that we would really like to buy because we can just tell that we would be kind of at the top end of our budget and of the revenue that we think that we can get. And it's just didn't work out for us. So we are staying with our 3 relatively affordable properties. The second thing that you guys can do and that we are doing right now is we need to have excellent listings. And the reason for that is because we are fighting for attention more than ever. Because if there are more properties on the market and if there are fewer people who are either looking or who can afford to rent them, you need to be able to snatch their attention. You can move your price to sell these nights, and you can just be the cheapest one on the block. But great pictures and great copy are also going to be able to snatch people's attention. They're going to be able to maybe get you to rent for higher amounts versus somebody else just because you have a listing that is well put together and that gets their attention. You really need to have the greatest pictures that you can possibly get. We are living in the TikTok, YouTube Shorts, short attention span era. And as people are scrolling through hundreds or thousands of properties, you need to have a picture that is going to stop them from scrolling and be interested in your listing. And then you need to have the next best 4 or 5 pictures right in a row so that they are at the forefront of your listing when they click on it, and so that you can really just showcase the best parts of your property, and then the rest of your pictures also all need to be on point to showcase your property, but without having too much, because people get bored and they will click away. And then after that, your copy. That is your description, your headlines, and all that. That stuff needs to be just as tight and concise and well-written and positive as you can possibly be. Your title needs to show the best parts about your cabin. You need to hit them with that. The hot tub, pools, indoor pool, beachfront, incredible views, something like that, so that can also help them stop scrolling. And then when you do get down into your description and stuff, bullet points. Again, put in the things that you have in easy to read things. You have to know who your audience is here. They're scrolling. You have to capture them immediately. And then once you have their attention, your pictures, the bullet points that say like, cable TV, you don't have to worry about streaming stuff, all king size beds, beachfront property, mountain views, close to Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge. All these things can be the things that you put in your bullet points. Then you can go below that in your description, write out how awesome your property is. The views, the towering ceilings, the real log cabin that the building is, the beachfront, airy beach house that you have. You can write the description and paint the picture of your place and sell it to them. The one thing that I've seen folks do time and time again that I really think is probably crushing their listing is the majority of their description is rules, regulations, penalties, and just negative things. People putting in just every single thing that they have heard on the internet that they should put in there. No pets, there's $1,000 fee. No smoking, there's $1,000 fee. Those actually are probably, reasonable things, but we're not going to send out, maintenance. We are only available between the hours of 8 and 10:15 a.m. We won't do this. You can't do this. All of these different things. And it just makes it a gigantic turnoff for people to rent your properties. If you're having trouble getting bookings, or even if you're not, I always like to say pick like 3 things to put at the end of your listing that are going to be your rules. For us, it's no pets. There's a $300 fee for that. There's absolutely no smoking, candles, incense, or any smoke-producing products. There's no parties, which is a rule for both of the platforms, both of the major platforms right now. And I can't think of the third one off the top of my head, but it's all in our thing, and that's why I don't even really get into these much, because we very rarely have problems with them, so I don't even remember what all of them are. The good news is that if you guys can do all these things, if you have great pictures, you have great listings, you have great properties that are appropriate for the market that you're trying to rent them for, we're going to be able to make it through this. And the nice thing that I've seen so far is that our summer bookings have drastically picked up, especially for that property that's down 43% and hasn't netted a profit yet. Our summer, once we got brand new pictures that showcase the property much better, once we got those loaded up, our summer basically filled up at top dollar prices. And so I'm going to be doing a video real soon on why pictures are the most important part of your listing. But if you guys can do that with good listings, good pictures, good copy, you price your place right, and you didn't buy it for more than you could afford in less than ideal conditions, I think we're all going to be okay. So guys, I appreciate you hanging out with me today, talking about Airbnb listings, about our worst spring that we've had so far renting short-term rental properties. If you haven't below yet, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and I will see you on the next one.